Welcome in, guys, to the Buckeye State of the Union Address. It is rivalry week. We are here again with Stephen Linder from Buckeye Backers. Again, this is from the Silver Bulletin. Guys, it is rivalry week. We just got done Ryan Day's press conference. Stephen, big takeaway real quick. What is the atmosphere like in this facility right now?
There's not anything else to say. We are here in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, and man, you can feel the vibes. You can feel the pressure. You can feel the energy, and everyone's ready to go.
Yeah, no, it's just different. We're going to talk some Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate injury updates, Ryan Day, what the message is to the team, how everybody is feeling, if the players have a bounce in their step, the foundation of this team, the process of the entire season. We're going to dive into all of this on this week's Buckeye State of the Union Address.
Oh, that's big. That's a lot.
Let's do it.
Let's get into it.
Yep.
There was a little bit of a difference in his tone this week versus other weeks, but in some ways there's some similarities. Talk a little bit about the similarities and talk a little bit about the differences that you noticed.
I think the biggest thing, Stephen, that I'm going to notice is the edge that's in his voice, and that translates to how he was talking about the team. But also, if you go back to that very first press conference, you said this off air about the Texas press conference, and his tone going into that game and what Ohio State needed to do. And then that journey from that Texas game all the way to now. You know, one of the things that he said is you can't hustle your way to the Saturday after Thanksgiving. You have to focus on the process of the season. You have to go through all that. But he said the guys are excited. They have a bounce in their step, and they're ready for this one.
Oh, for sure. And it was just get out of it with a W.
Yeah.
That was what it was back at the first game of the season when you go against the number one team in the nation. Well, this is very similar. The pressure's similar. The excitement's similar. You know, first game of the season, everyone's ready to go. Well, we waited. And he waited, and this team has waited 365 days to get into this very moment. It's here. Ryan Day talked about he didn't want to build up the pressure too much. Speak a little bit about, I think you had a good quote from Ryan Day when he said he didn't really want to build up the pressure too much. You got to kind of relax and take it easy. What was that exact quote? Do you have it memorized?
Yeah, well, he was going in first just talking about playing with the emotion and the emotion of the game, the magnitude of the game. He said everybody understands that. They grasp that concept. You don't need to build it up more than it already is because everybody knows that's the number one goal over here. But he said you can play with emotion, but you can't let it play with you.
Correct.
And that was the big takeaway right there, is making sure your emotions are staying in check. He's like, you're going to go out onto that field and you're going to have emotion. You're going to feel emotion. You're going to play with it. But you cannot let it play with you, where it then becomes too big, like it has for the last 4 years, where toughness was redefined as running the football up the middle. Stephen, I don't see Mason Graham or Kenneth Grant on the interior of that Michigan defensive line this year. And last year going into this game, Ohio State was a big favorite. Ohio State's a favorite this year again. But when you looked at that game, there was really one way that Michigan could win that game last year. And it was if they drug Ohio State into the mud, they forced them to run the football. And also if Ohio State decided they were going to be tougher by running the ball up the middle against their strength and saying, you know what, we're a better team than you because we can run at your best. That might not be how your team looks. That might not be the strength of your team. Ohio State has great horses on the outside at wide receiver. Last year was Emeka Egbuka, and you had Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis. This year, you have Jeremiah Smith, maybe Carnell Tate. You know, we'll get into all that here in a minute, but Ohio State's identity is not we're going to run it up the middle 40 times a game.
Correct.
There's more than one way to skin a cat.
Sure. And you talked about it. You don't put it on the pedestal. You don't want to put this game on the pedestal, but you got to be prepared. Ryan Day did say the motivation's there. We don't need to add extra motivation to this game. It's there. It's all about being focused. And that's kind of been his MO all year, really. Keep the focus on the game. Keep the focus on us. We want to win this game because we got more things to do. What's left? Every game from now on, it's hardware. So every game is meaningful, and it's time to turn up the gas, as Ryan Day would say.
Yeah.
Speaking of turning up the gas, we're going to need the elite horses on the outside. What about Jeremiah Smith? Jeremiah Smith came out on Downs podcast, Downs to Business, and said, hey, I have a little injury bug. I got a little something I'm working with, but I should be ready to go on Saturday. Ryan Day wasn't as committal. He was, a little bit danced around that question. What did you see with that? Do you think Jeremiah Smith is going to be ready to go come Saturday on his birthday?
Right.
20 years old on November 29th.
Yeah, I think some of it is coach speak, but again, we're not really going to know, I think, either way on either of those two, Jeremiah Smith or Carnell Tate, until players are going out on warm-ups.
Sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if they both suit up and maybe Carnell Tate's held out. I do think that Jeremiah Smith is going to play in the game. I think he'll be ready to go. Carnell Tate, not exactly sure. The confidence level is not as high. Getting both of them suited up, I can see that happening. Both of them playing the full game on the field, every snap, that I don't know.
Yeah.
Just based on what we know about what's going on and you know what? We're not going to really get a lot from Coach Day. He keeps injuries very close to the vest, and especially in a situation like this, you don't want to tip your hand any more than you need to
Mm-hmm.
in a game like that. But I think the belief is everywhere, even up north in Ann Arbor, that we will see Jeremiah Smith in some capacity on there. The real big mystery is going to be Carnell Tate.
For sure. And we haven't heard anything on it. It's been radio silence on Carnell Tate. We'll see when we get there, basically 2 hours before, when you get that injury report, when you see him warming up on the sidelines, then we'll know.
Right.
And that's when everyone else will know too. The other things that were mentioned in this was, this is a game where legends are made. And they talked about Bo Jackson. He has the chance to show out and be one of those legends. There have been freshmen in the past that have shown out in the biggest game of the year. What's Bo Jackson got? That, Ryan Day kind of talked about it. He's like, we've seen it all season. There's the chance for him to break out, and we're going to need him.
Right. Yeah, we talked about Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson just in recent memory of those freshmen who can break out. And certainly if you look up and down Ohio State's roster, you have options at freshman.
Mm-hmm.
But Bo Jackson stands out as like, okay, if someone's going to do it, it's going to be Bo Jackson for these reasons. Just like you were saying, we've seen it all year from him. He has great burst, great vision. He is very agile. He has a lot of great traits as a running back. And he's also a home run hitter. And that's something that can be huge in this game, because I know sometimes we get lost in this rushing battle stat. Whoever wins the rushing battle wins the game. And yes, it's absolutely true. But there's more than one way to run the football. It's not just, hey, we're going to force feed it. It's, we could open it up with the pass. We can hit a home run out of the backfield. There's more than one way to do it. And Bo Jackson gives you the ability, yes, to get the tough yards, but also to hit the home run on a big explosive play.
Yeah, he's versatile, and that's why we like him. All right. Isaiah West is also that freshman right behind him that could provide some of that. Peoples has been turning it on, so we got a stable of backs to come after this Michigan team with. But really what we want to see, and what we all want to see, is what do we learn from last year? Ryan Day was asked about what he learned, what that team meeting was like, what you take out of it. And again, he was a little bit non-committal on saying that is influencing this year. Last year's last year, this year's this year. The focus has to be on these guys this week at this time with this team. The focus is everything to Ryan Day this year. The focus, the focus, the focus. And I'll just say it like that.
Yeah.
It's stealing a quote from those guys up north. Yeah, the focus, the focus, the focus. And that's what they're all about this year.
Yeah, and even still, when you look at a moment like that, when you are focused and you're saying, hey, we've learned something from last year, you can study and study and study, but you eventually have to take the test. And Ohio State's going to take the test on Saturday. And if they pass, they have learned something, and we're going to find out exactly what they learned. I think that's why we saw a little bit of that from Ryan Day, where he's like, well, this year is different than last year. We have learned, we have grown, but we have to go put it out on the field. That was more of his response. Like, we have to execute in the game, and we're going to find out how much we learned, what we learned, and if it was enough to win the game.
And what's fun about this game? Kicking ass and celebrating on the field. You talked about it. We got to show it on the field. We got to capitalize. You got to make the blocks. You got to hit the holes. You got to pass the ball to the right person. You got to get someone open. And you got to run the right routes. And you got to focus. And you got to execute. Execution is key. Ryan Day and the coaching staff can get them prepared all they want, but we got to put it all out on the field, and we got to go away with this victory, kick ass, and celebrate in the locker room. That was the biggest thing I took out of this press conference. And that was an excellent quote.
It was the anchor quote right at the end. Yeah.
So, that's what we need. That's what everyone wants to do. They also talked about, how we got a good mix of Ohio guys. Build your base with Ohio guys. The foundation is in Ohio. So we have the recruiting base from Ohio, but all over the nation. And he's like, these guys know when they get in there. The coaches know. The players know. When you come in, it doesn't matter. But you do need that base to kind of establish what the rivalry really means to everyone across the nation. And it starts in Ohio.
Absolutely does. And when you have those guys in Ohio, just like Ryan Day was talking about, like you just said, you grow up in it. You have to educate a guy like Julian saying, not that guys can't be educated, not that they can't learn. That happens all the time, because Ryan Day also said, there's great players around the entire country, not just in Ohio. So we have to recruit everywhere. So your goal is, when you recruit a kid from Ohio or from up north, they know about this rivalry, because when you're born into this. This is 24/7, 365 in these two states, in both fan bases. But then you pull a guy like Julian saying, or CJ Stroud, California guys. You got to educate those guys. And you can do that, but the foundation in Ohio helps with that more, because they grew up in it, they understand it, it's in their blood when they're born.
Oh yeah, it's part of you.
It's not
it's
injected.
Innate. It's who you are, and you have to kind of transition that into the guys coming in. They have to learn that real quick and be part of this rivalry right from the start. Yeah, you can watch it from afar, and you can understand that it means everything, but You don't know till you're in it. Ryan Day said that last year.
Mhm.
You don't know till you're in it.
Right.
And he was asked about learning from the past, and he said you take a little bit of everything from the past, right, and you build into who you are. You learn from your mistakes, you learn from your failures, but you also learn from the things that you do right. So this year it's going to be interesting to see if Buckeye football is played in Ann Arbor, not going in trying to play Michigan football, which
Right.
is my opinion, and I think almost everyone across the nation. Ohio State tried to play Michigan football last year. This year, we need to play Buckeye football in order to win this game.
Right. And Ryan Day's quote the entire year, it's about us. Well, it's about us means we're playing Ohio State football. So you're exactly right. That is what I expect to see on Saturday from the Buckeyes.
Well, I'd like to welcome everybody to follow us again tomorrow, because we're going to be doing the same thing. Next time, tomorrow night, it's going to be with some of the players. I don't know who we're going to get, but it's going to be interesting. I'd imagine it's going to be captains for this one. It's going to be, the best of the best out there talking to us and telling us what it's like to be in this game. Until then, unless you got anything else to say, God bless, take care, and welcome to Rivalry Week.